Hello, wonderful Algebra 1 students. My name is Dan Tucker, and I'll be your algebra teacher for this class. It's really good to have you in the class. I'm looking forward to meeting you on the first day, but you have some work to do before we get there. We are going to, this week, work our way through the first four sections. So it's all in chapter 1, chapters 1, chapter 1, lesson 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so we're starting out slow. It seems like a lot, and it actually is. Normally we'll try to do 3 lessons, but I think you can handle this because it's pretty easy stuff, and it's a lot of review. So I wanted you to get through this as quickly as we can. I want to talk to you about 2 issues in this class, kind of in general, that are going to be important for you to keep in mind. Number 1 is the idea that in math, we tend to really learn, like really understand concepts or ideas or lessons at the next level of the next lesson. Here's what I mean. Like, we'll have a lesson on order of operations, and you'll struggle with that. Maybe I know you won't, but let's just say you did. You struggle with that, but then in the next lesson, we're going to teach something completely different, maybe simplifying or solving equations or something. And then it turns out that in doing that, you're going to be applying the order of operations all over the place. And all of a sudden, you're going to be like, oh, that's what they mean by order of operations. That makes perfect sense. I'm having trouble with this solving equation stuff, but the order of operations is making sense to me. And that happens all the time in algebra, where you learn one thing, and then the next lesson you're using that to work out the next thing, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is really making sense. That's because you're applying it to something that is practical, and so it makes it's useful to you, and so you hold on to it better, and you're seeing it for the second or third time. Now, why do I tell you all that? Because oftentimes in my recordings, you're going to be doing, maybe the first lesson, you're going to say, this, not quite sure I'm getting this one. And then if you watch the recording for the second lesson, you might say, oh, wait, that's what we were trying to learn in that first lesson. And there it is, like being demonstrated a bunch of times, and now it makes sense to me in the second recording. So it's not a bad idea, if you're struggling, to just maybe watch all the recordings. Definitely watch them more than one time. Read the textbook, try to follow through the examples, and watch the recordings. Because the more you let the math wash over you, the more light bulb moments you're going to have, the more it's going to make sense to you. And the the opposite thing that you could do is just avoid it. You run away. I don't want to face this. It's too hard. And the less time you spend thinking about it or facing the math or seeing the difficult problems, the less ability your brain has to learn this and to really get you going on it. So give your brain a chance by watching those recordings, watch them a couple of times, try the problems, check the answers in the back of the book, read the textbook, look at the example problems, see if you can puzzle out how they did what they're doing. Because the more you do that, I promise you, the quicker the math is going to come to you. So you devote some time, it's going to come easy. And what you'll find is that as you move along, the new lessons come easier and easier as your brain learns how to learn math faster. Okay, now that's for maybe a little bit of a struggling student. If you're good at math and you love it and you don't need to be told to do math problems, that's fine too. Okay, so that was one thing. Give yourself a chance. Watch all the recordings. And then the other thing is that I'm not asking you to do a ton of practice. Because of that every other odd rule, if I give you 43 questions like I do on the first lesson, that means you're only doing 11 problems. It's not that much. So it's not a bad thing to go ahead and just do all the odd problems. You're not required to, but you may, and the answers are all in the back of the book. It's very good to practice things that maybe you're struggling with. I suspect these first 4 lessons are going to be fairly easy for you. You're not going to struggle at all, and so you'll fly through this pretty quickly. But make sure to watch the recordings and see if you pick up something new. Oh, second thing I want to talk about. This is just a word of caution. I want to give you a little overview of where we're going. One of the problems with this textbook and the pacing of this course is we're going to be really frustrated because we're like, come on, let's get there, let's get there. And this book is really going to teach us step by step, especially these first 2 chapters. And we're going to feel like we need to be doing some real algebra, and we're not. And that's going to be the case for a while. So hang back, try to really understand what it is that the textbook is trying to teach you and not get ahead of yourself. And I'll give you an example. The last lesson that we're doing this week is translating words into symbols. So it's word problems, but you're not actually doing any word problems. You're just going to take a sentence, a phrase, and you're going to translate it into a math phrase, and that's it. And then next week, we're going to take some sentences and translate them into equations. But this is the big deal. We're not going to solve any equations. And in fact, we're not going to solve equations really until we get to chapter 3, which for us is going to be week 6. So just to understand, and that's just an example of kind of how slow we're going, which is good. We're learning it, we're practicing it, we're really trying to make sure that we understand all the little bits and pieces before we dive into what algebra in the minds of a lot of people really is, which is solving equations. We'll get there, but it'll be a while. So be real careful that you're reading the textbook, that you're really trying to understand what it is that's being taught and not getting ahead of the class. We're not going to solve any equations, so if you're trying to figure out what x equals, other than the problems where we tell you what it equals, then you're probably getting ahead of us for a while. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. Have fun with these lessons, watch the recordings, do the classwork. Please bring me. I don't want anyone like flipping back and forth pages. I want it really clearly marked on your paper, page whatever, page 3, problems 1 through 43, and then show your work on every single one of them. It's going to be challenging at the beginning because a lot of these are going to be super easy, but show as much work as you can and be real neat on your coursework so that you can just show it to me. It's all one big bundle. You can show it to me, we can flip through it. You can, you've clearly marked your questions that we can go over together from the homework. And then you can take your first quiz. It's going to be an easy one. As long as you've done the homework, you'll have no trouble with it. All right, I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.